Live from Fairlawn Church in Fort Pierce, Florida, you are joining Mark Aycock and Jimmy Lloyd in the lobby.
Hey guys, this is Pastor Jimmy, and I am here with not Mark Aycock, but I am here with someone much prettier. What is your name, ma'am?
Julie.
Yes, Julie. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure if it was a soft J or I didn't know if it was Jaylee. I don't know. I was just trying to be funny. This is my wife, Julie. She is joining me on this podcast of In the Lobby. Usually it is Pastor Mark Aycock that's here with me, but we had something that we wanted to discuss and we wanted to talk about, and you actually, this time it's not me forcing you on in the lobby. It's this time you asked to come and share about something. So a few weeks ago, Pastor Mark and we did this podcast on the Sabbath and what the Sabbath really is, and now it's now that we're under New Covenant, the Sabbath isn't a day, but we find our rest in Jesus. And I'm not asking you guys to go back and watch the whole entire podcast. If you want to, I think it'd be great because it'd give you some perspective on this. But after the podcast, I actually found a video that it actually explained everything we talked about in such a simple way, and it was only like 5 minutes long. So we have permission to use the video. So what I'm going to do is we are going to cut and we're going to show you that video just so you kind of get an understanding of what we're talking about with the Sabbath and what the Sabbath is, no longer being a day. It's, you get asked all the time, is the Sabbath a Saturday? Is it a Sunday? Well, this video will explain. It's from the Bible Project. So we're going to go ahead and show that video, and then we will be right back.
The number 7 is a big deal in the Bible.
Yeah, in biblical Hebrew, the word 7 is connected to the idea of fullness or completeness.
And that's something we all long for, but don't often experience. Instead, we find ourselves working endlessly, fighting back chaos with no real rest.
Yes. Now keep all that in mind as we turn to Genesis 1 in the Bible. It begins with darkness and disorder, but then God speaks to bring about light and order so that life can flourish.
And this happens over the course of 6 days.
Each day is marked with the phrase, there was evening and there was morning. But on the 7th day, something special happens.
God stops and rests.
Right. Creation is brought to its completion on the 7th day. And that phrase, there was evening and there was morning, it doesn't appear on day 7.
It's like a day with no end.
On the 7th day, God's presence fills his creation. The land provides for all of God's creatures, including humans, who are appointed to rule the world with God forever.
Kings and queens of the 7th day rest. I can get into that.
But the humans are deceived by a dark power, and they forfeit that rest. They're exiled into the wilderness, where they have to work as slaves to the land.
Until they die and return to the dust from which they came.
But God wants to restore humanity back to that 7th day rest. So he chooses to give the family of Israel that experience of ultimate rest so they can share it with others.
But how? They're in Egypt, slaves to an oppressive empire who's grinding them into the dust.
So God confronts Egypt and he liberates the Israelites, taking them through the darkness and chaos on the way to the promised land.
Now, while they're on their way, they find themselves in the wilderness. It's easy to get lost, life is a struggle, they're not in the land of rest yet.
But while they're on the way, God invites them in the wilderness to start living as if they're in the promised land.
But how do you practice the future rest in the wilderness?
Well, God tells them that every 7th day they are to stop their work, or in Hebrew, to Shabbat, so that they can rest and enjoy God's good world.
So take a whole day to live as if the ultimate rest has already come.
Yeah, this is the Sabbath, celebrated every week on the 7th day. But there's more. The Sabbath is just one of 7 festivals that Israel practiced every year, each one anticipating that 7th day rest.
That is a lot of 7s.
And there's even more. Every 7 years, the Israelites were to liberate slaves, forgive debts, and let the land rest for a whole year. And then, every 7 times 7 years was the ultimate seventh-day rest, called the Year of Jubilee. If anyone had lost their land or gone into debt, all was forgiven, everything restored.
Wow, so the Sabbath, these feasts, the Year of Jubilee, it's all pointing towards the hope of future rest.
Right. Now, when the Israelites went into the land, they forgot their God, and so they forfeited their chance for rest in the Promised Land.
They're exiled and enslaved again by an oppressive nation, led back into a world of chaos and disorder.
But Israel's prophets said that their exile would end one day, and that the ultimate jubilee of freedom and rest would come, but generations go by, and they're still waiting.
It's at this dark point in the story that Jesus appears, and he launches his public mission on a Sabbath day.
Yeah, he read aloud from the scroll of Isaiah, saying that it was time for all captives and slaves to be released because this was the year of the Lord's favor.
What did he mean, this is the year of the Lord's favor?
He was talking about the ultimate jubilee.
Also, Jesus is claiming that seventh-day rest would come through him.
Right, he said that he was the Lord of the Sabbath, and he confronted disorder and darkness in all of its forms, liberating people from sickness, sin, even from death itself.
Yet, Jesus was killed, so even his work was undone.
Well, it seemed that way. But notice, Jesus timed his death to take place at the end of the week. His body rested in a tomb during the Sabbath, and on the 8th day, he rose from the dead.
Oh wait, the 8th day? You mean the first day of a new week?
Exactly. Jesus' resurrection was like the first day of a new creation, where God's light and life broke into the darkness.
So because of the resurrection, we have hope in God's promise of future rest. But we're not there yet. It's like we're still in the wilderness, where we experience struggle and pain.
But as we journey towards that ultimate seventh day, Jesus invites us to experience a taste of real rest now by following him. Or in his words, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest."
All right, we are back. I hope you enjoyed that video. So that kind of explains what we're talking about, what the Sabbath is. If I do also highly recommend going on and watching other videos from the Bible Project. They've made a ton of them. So all good stuff that I've seen so far. So that's kind of how this came about. Pastor Mark and I, we did the podcast on the Sabbath. And when I came home, I was explaining to Julie, I was explaining to you what we did the podcast on. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. After we did the podcast and all that, I was like, man, this is like, we got to step it up. Like, this isn't riveting stuff. Like, maybe we need to, I don't know. It's like, I guess we're allowed to do a boring podcast every once in a while. What I did not expect to happen is what happened next with this, because you and I started talking about it.
Yes.
And do you remember how the conversation went?
Usually how all of our conversations go, me questioning everything that you say. But I think I was asking you a little bit about it, and I was just like, so what you're saying is that if people spend more time reading the Bible and with God and Jesus, that they don't need vacations and they don't get tired. I'm pretty sure it was like that was nutshell version.
It was something. It was along those lines, because what I did is I talked about how finding rest in Jesus. That's where we get our rest from. So when we spend time with Him through prayer, through reading the Word, with that we find rest in that. You will pretty much you'll sleep better. You'll feel more rested, just more. Yeah, you're happier, just have more energy. I remember having a friend of mine before that was in ministry, and he would point out, he would say, when you see like ministers, pastors, and they're like always saying, oh, I need a vacation. And this goes, I think, for anybody in general. That's always a red flag or a sign that, hey, they're not spending the time that they need in the Word and resting in Jesus. So I remember what you said, because I said that, and you said, I don't believe that.
That sounds right.
And I said, well, what do you mean you don't believe that? And you're like, I don't believe, that you would, if you're burnt out, you're going through all that, that's how you'd find rest. I don't believe that. And I've learned throughout the years, because we've been married for, a little bit here, so it's not going to do any good getting into like an argument or a discussion or saying, oh yeah, I'm going to prove it to you, look at this right here, and throw the Bible in your face or anything like that. That typically doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. And getting louder, and that usually doesn't work. So I was just like, all right, and I just kind of dropped it. And then a few minutes later, you said, I'll try it for a month. And it took me a minute to realize what you're talking about. So obviously you're thinking about this. Yeah. I was like, try what for a month? And you said, I'll try it. I'll read the Bible every day. I will, spend time in prayer. I'll do it for a month, and we'll see. So, and then at that time we thought, it'd be kind of cool to, after that month, doing a podcast. Mm-hmm. Either way, we're transparent. So even just I tried it, and what they talked about, that's crap. I feel so tired. Even if it would have been that, we would have done the podcast. Obviously, we would not have aired it. So I'd have been like, Brandon, you gotta cut that, and then Brandon and I would have done it over again, just us, and he would have put a wig on, and I would have said, "This is Julie." Yeah.
She got really pretty.
Yes, and yes, and Harry. So, anyways, and Brandon would have done it. He would have done it willingly. Willingly. Yeah, he would have.
With his
been
trucker
happy.
hat.
Yeah. So, his trucker hat. He would have had the blonde wig and the trucker hat on it. So, in fact, right now the master trucker he's wearing a trucker hat. So there he goes. Yeah, he's he is. Yeah, so he's all about those trucker hats. I'm telling you. So now my question for you is, for everybody, I just explain kind of what happened after that moment or after that day, with that, and with it, I kind of thought of it as, challenge accepted, and so and then I told Pastor Mark about it, and he's like, oh, she's going to see a huge difference. So let's find out. I'm excited to hear, and everybody is. You're on the edge of your seat, I know. Mm-hmm. So what happened once you did that? Let's explain it in your words.
You had bought me the Bible. You've actually bought me quite a few Bibles. And they just sat there, and I always have intentions to read them, but like I said, I told you that I would try it for a month, and so I did, and I started reading the Passion Translation, and I started in the very beginning in Matthew, I think it was, and I couldn't really stop once I started, and it was really interesting, just reading everything that I kind of already knew that you talked about, but just reading it myself and trying to understand it, I guess, a little bit better. Is really interesting, and I really didn't want to stop reading it once I started, but obviously I did, because I would have to go to sleep. But I would read it in the morning, at night, and then sometimes I'd read it in the morning, but I mostly wanted to start reading at night because I don't know, I really enjoyed reading at night before I went to sleep. But I noticed, because everybody that knows me knows that I don't like to do things. I don't like going out of the house.
Can I stop you just for a second? I just wanted to explain this, because I think, just in case somebody is just, tuning in, you don't really know Julie, you don't know us or anything. First of all, one thing you're going to get 100% from my wife is honesty. It's regardless. She didn't grow up in the church. This has been something that really she was kind of thrown into it right as we got married. Me getting back into ministry, kind of pulling you along with it, and it's been a journey. I mean, it's been good times, bad times. I mean, it's been that. If you watched the last podcast we did together, you'll see that we talked about it. So with this, it may, if someone's just tuning in, sound kind of strange. It's okay, it's a pastor's wife. Okay, she's going to read the Bible. Well, I mean, you just take for granted, most pastors' wives read the Bible. I don't know if that's 100% true. I mean, even most pastors read the Bible. There's been times, with me, like, yeah, I've read the Bible to put a message together, or read the Bible or whatever. But there's been times too where it's like, instead of picking up the Bible, reading it, like I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this podcast or watch this sermon. I'll get some Bible out of it. But with you, I mean, this was like making that decision to pick up your Bible and just start reading it, just from, I guess point blank, just from wherever, from Matthew, and just start reading it. It's the first time that in your life that's ever happened. So, so with that, I have a feeling that you're not the only pastor's wife that has happened to, but you may be one of the few that will actually admit it. So, I just wanted to put that out there, because if someone's like, "Wow, this is weird," like a pastor's wife, they're not reading the Bible, but so, all right, go ahead and.
Well, just to kind of touch on that a little bit too. So, yes, I don't, and I never have read the Bible because you're a pastor and you're always at church. I'm just so over church. So people that know me that are close to me know that I'm just over. It's a competition usually, and usually church I feel like wins. So I just was like, whatever. I'm just whatever church, and so the reading of the Bible for me was a big step, and it was a big deal, and it wasn't something that I didn't feel pressured into doing it. I was just like, I was really, really excited, because I was like, this is wrong. You're not right, because I am like, there's no way. I'm always tired. I'm sleepy. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to go leave my house. I don't want to do anything. So in the past month, after reading where I am now, I'm in John. I have I feel like I'm going out more. I'm started the coffee ministry. I mean, that happened in the last month, right? Yeah, it did. It's crazy. So I definitely still get sleepy. I don't think that's.
Well, I think you still have to have sleep. Yeah, I'm not saying that you. Yeah, you'll be able to never sleep. Who was that? There was one time a famous person, they slept so many hours, they did it in a one of those, what do they call those chamber things, they would sleep, and they would only need 2 hours of sleep. I don't know. You're still gonna need. It's not I'm gonna read the Bible and I'll never need sleep again.
I was hoping.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
I was hoping, because I am always tired. I feel like I'm just always drained of energy. But it's crazy, because I started going out and hanging out and asking my friends, I'm like, do you want to do something, or just coming to the church more? I think I've been to the church a lot more. I don't know, just a lot. And I've come to church on Wednesday nights twice already this month. And I never do that.
And actually, and there's been times where you had happened this week where it was you were let's go to the church.
Oh yeah, Monday.
Yeah, so that
was supposed to be our day.
Yeah. So, and it was your choice to come here, and with the coffee. So, explain that. Has there been challenges or has it just been okay, I read a verse, and now, woo, and I'm totally changed. I see it different, and I'm just excited. Has there been any ups and downs with this? Has there been any frustrations or times it's No,
I mean, I love reading, and I love reading, and I love Jesus. So, why not read the Bible? But it's been very, very interesting, and I obviously have a million questions, because I didn't grow up with it, and I haven't heard it over and over and over again ingrained in my brain. So, there haven't really been any downs with it, honestly. I don't think there's anything I could lose from reading it.
No, I'm not talking about that. So with that, has there been any, you're talking about excitement and, wanting to get involved, or wanting to get out. And it's not just with church stuff. I've noticed it. I think anybody that's been around us noticed it just in general. So with that, has it ever been where it's kind of reverting back to where it's oh man, and kind of just where it's not wanting to do anything? Has it been there? Has there been any attacks from the enemy? I guess I can say that, anything like that, or
I think a couple days ago, when I was really mad, and I was I walked in here the Tuesday before yesterday, and it was like, oh my gosh, there's nowhere for me to do this coffee ministry. I wanted to do it in the lobby. I wanted to do it in the social hall, and everything's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just canceling it. And, I think you said that you're doing that out of frustration, or are you doing that because you prayed about it? And I text you right back, and I was like, obviously it's out of frustration because I'm so upset. I didn't pray about it because I'm upset right now. It's like current. So, I think little things like that, but for the most part, I feel like a lot more peaceful, even with my patience towards our kids. I still feel like a little bit more peaceful because I used to they drive me crazy, but I feel like maybe they drive me less crazy. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like,
You're giving more patience.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not from reading the Bible. Maybe it's just, in general, like, it's like taking a placebo pill and just like thinking and knowing that if I'm reading in the Bible and I'm in the Word and I'm, have Jesus like constantly around me and I'm listening to worship music, that I feel just lighter and like everything just doesn't seem as tight and dark and scary. But it's just crazy how much I really truly enjoy reading the Bible and look forward to my quiet time at night right before bed where I can read it and the kitty cats jump up and try to play with my ribbon, and it's a peaceful time.
Yeah. And when you say, I asked you, is it out of frustration or you pray about it? I remember before there's times just like, that's Jimmy's famous words. We pray about it. You pray about it, So I remember when I asked you that, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So she's going to get frustrated about that. I said, did you pray about it? Mm-hmm. But I really couldn't phrase it any other way. And then actually it was, I wasn't home. I was at the fire station. Mm-hmm. So typically, when I'm there, like we'll text and let each other know like when we're going to bed and stuff. And you didn't do that night. Like we didn't talk after that. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And so it's even with stuff like that, it's me letting go of some of the control stuff because it's like, well, let me try to talk her into still doing it. I didn't do that. I just kind of left it at that. And then the next morning you text me and you said, I'm on the way to church. I got, your clothes so you can change into. And so it was like, oh, cool. So that was kind of cool to see that. Mm-hmm. And through all of this too, it's even on my end, and I don't know, it may have happened before this. I think it did when I just made that, because with us being in ministry, with me being a pastor, there is like what you talk about, what you've openly talked about on the last podcast, and now it's kind of like a love-hate relationship with the church, because you've even brought it up before. You've actually done it both ways. You said you felt like the church is a mistress, and you've said, well, before, where you felt like you're the mistress of the church. And there's, with that, like with me, that's definitely like, kind of a wake-up call as a pastor, because you obviously do not want your wife to ever feel like that. And I know, there's books on that. There's a pastor is actually one of the top 5 jobs that in getting divorced. And there is, you would think, as a pastor, should never do that, but it's so easy to get wrapped up in the stuff at the church. And I'm not saying wrapped up in Jesus, because we do it in the name of Jesus. Yeah. We do it in the name of the gospel. Mm-hmm. But then we kind of lose sight as pastors of our first ministry is our family and our wives and stuff like that. So with me, and it's been very difficult, but letting go of that control, and even with coming to church, because as you know, and one of our biggest arguments throughout our marriage of the pastor stuff is times when, for whatever reason, when you don't come to church on Sunday, we've gotten arguments with that. Mm-hmm. And where, there's not a whole lot of stuff I get upset about and mad about, but typically, and maybe not, I'm home and like yelling at you or anything like that, but
it's
where
silent
where you have silent yelling, so where you can say, he's upset. So it's been a struggle with me, but even just letting go of that, and it's been kind of cool with seeing it, maybe a little bit. But with that, like through all of this, I've noticed like throughout the month too, it's like we have 2 services here at Fairlawn. We have a 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. And I mean, most of the time you're here for both of them. I mean, not always, we got kids and just a lot, there's a lot of different things that go into effect with that. But 2, I would say it's even with me, because as you're reading through this, just a couple weeks before you started, I decided that I was, through the Passion Translation, going to start and just read through the whole New Testament over again. I've read it before, but going through and reading it over again, and then so you're just a little bit behind me where I'm at with that, which is kind of cool, because then you have questions, and I can kind of look in my notes and different things with that. But I can tell even a difference with me since I've been doing that and making sure every day I'm in the Word, every day. I'm spending not just prayers like, oh, Jesus, help me do this or help me with this, but where it's just like actually intimate time with God. I've seen a difference with me, and I think that has definitely, you got a husband and wife that are both doing that, and something that we've been talking about a lot at Fairlawn is unity and love and unity and being one, not uniformity, but unity. And I think we've seen how through the Word, like, we have become more united in our marriage and in our family and all of that. So it's kind of cool to see that and all that happen too. So, well, do you feel more refreshed? Do you feel more, is it just, okay, I want to kind of get out of the house more and do more stuff and excited about that? Or, I mean, do you feel any different, like waking up in the morning, or any different, like just, do you have to take as many naps? I mean, like that kind of stuff.
No, I don't take naps that often, and a lot of, I don't take naps because I don't like, naps just don't make me feel good. They usually would make people feel good but they don't. But I have noticed, and I don't know if you noticed, but you probably did because you silently notice everything. But when we were arguing the other night on text message, and I said that I was frustrated with everything, the church, church this, and I said to you, like, normally I would say to you, I would literally stop everything church. Like, everything that has to do with church, Jesus, anything. I'm just so mad that it's something that you're so passionate about. You're so, like, that's like you love it. I mean, you just love it. And I know how much you love it, and I feel like it takes away from, like, me. And I'm like, just push it all away. But I said to you that I am still going to read my Bible, and I'm still going to do my coffee ministry because that's done for me, and I'm not doing that for you. And that is a huge step for me because, like, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, I would have been like, I'm just done. Like, take your Passion Translation and just go to church. But I didn't say that, and that for me is a huge step because, I, in the past month, have felt like my relationship with Jesus has definitely become more one-on-one than it ever has been before, because I'm actually taking the time to putting the time into my relationship with him instead of like having a relationship with him through, like, you or through somebody else. So it's incredible, really.
Yeah, and I do remember through the text message too, you point you said, well, I'm not doing it because you're upset with me about, I don't even remember, like, most of the time, but you're upset with me, but you're like with the All Talk Coffee and, having coffee time every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, whoever wants to come and just spend some time in fellowship. And, you're like, well, I'm not doing it for you, doing it for me. And I think that's huge because probably, like, looking back, like, I did think about that, is probably everything in the past when it came to church stuff, you weren't doing it for Jesus. You weren't doing it for God. You were doing it for your husband. You were doing it for Jimmy. So I think this is probably, maybe with an exception of, the animal ministry or something, but this is probably the first time where it was like, I'm doing this. This is 100% for God. It's you know, it has nothing to do with my husband. There's nothing attached to my husband with that. You know, yes, he's a pastor, but you know, this is just what I feel like doing. And it was really cool to see you. You know, you kind of get that revelation, like that's, yes. And I was like, this is probably the first time that's ever happened where it was.
Yeah.
You know, it had nothing to do. There was no connection between just being a pastor's wife and you wanting to do this. It's like, this is just something that you want to do because you feel like it's the right thing to do. And, you know, you feel like this is what Jesus has called you to and the purpose that. And I remember even early on in ministry, that was a big thing. You're like, I don't know what my gifting is. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my calling is. And I would say that was even since we've been here at Fairlawn. I mean, we've been here a little over a year, and you saying that. And I remember Pastor Mark speaking on the gifts, and he talked about the mercy gift. And you came for the second service, not the first. And when you got there, I said, I think I know what your gifting is. And then when Pastor Mark was talking about it there and got to the mercy gift, you're like, I don't know. But with that, I've seen it. I think anybody that's been around you has seen it, how people are just drawn to you. And I think it's like part of it is just you being you and your honesty, and no matter what, you are you. You're not going to, you know, along the lines, we eventually, especially us that grew up in church, learn how to play church. So where it comes in like someone like you that didn't grow up in it, you don't know how to play church. Like, you don't know all the church words. I remember even before someone, like, talking about, like, one of these Christianese words, like one of these, and you're like, I don't even know what that means. And I'm like, you are much better not knowing what that means. But we do. Along the lines, we learn how to play church, and we don't realize it, but when we're being fake, people know we're being fake. Like, it's not like we're just fooling everybody. People just aren't coming up to us and saying, oh, you're really fake. So I don't think anybody can honestly that knows you ever say that you are being fake, because you have. I mean, there's been times like you talking to someone and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's saying that. Don't say, you know. So no, I think that's cool with that. And so with finding the Sabbath in Jesus, and that being where we find our rest, and that being where, you know, we find that refreshing. It also talks about in Romans 15:32, Paul is writing this letter to Rome, and he's saying that he's telling them that he is spiritually refreshed by their fellowship. So he's like, I can't wait to see you guys so I can be spiritually refreshed by your fellowship. Yeah. So there we did the first time that you got together for the coffee on this past Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And it's not just for women, it's for everybody.
Yes,
everybody can.
Everyone.
And I joined in. It was you and a couple other of the ladies, and then one of our deacons ended up coming in and joining us. And it was really a good time. We just sitting around talking, not worrying about the time, and just having coffee. And, man, when we got done, I felt refreshed. I truly did. It's like, man, I just felt good. Like about everything, you know. So when, you know, through reading this, you find rest in the Sabbath, but then he gives us other, like, different things. He gives us each other so that we can find, be refreshed by each other's fellowship. And typically the normal thing, and you've done it, is like when you're like depressed or when you're upset or whatever, you know, our typical reaction is to hide. Yes. And you say, well, I just need to sleep all day. I just need to sit home and, you know, binge watch Grey's Anatomy, or, you know, whatever it is. And that's how we think, that's how in our minds we think we get rest. But really it's the opposite, because now, and that's what the enemy wants to do. He wants to get us alone so that he's the only one talking to us. The way, according to this book, according to our Bible, we get refreshed by fellowship with other believers. And we get rest by resting in Jesus. And it's really cool that to see it happen, like to see the transformation. It wasn't like, I mean, it was quick. Like, it wasn't just you, like the first few days of you reading it. It's like you could tell like a difference and just an excitement about it, and just being excited about Jesus and excited about the gospel. And I've seen it. I don't know if you've noticed. You said it with our kids, but just being more tolerant with people in general.
Well, I try to
including
be
myself.
tolerant of people. Like I was, yesterday I was at Dollar Tree trying to find fall, like, flowers, and I just thought, I just, when you talk to people and when you say hi to them and you smile at them and you just look at them and acknowledge them, people want to be acknowledged and they want to be said hi to, and I just thought how much better I feel inside when I am cheerful to people, even strangers, because that might be like the only interaction they have with someone that day, and I just feel that just being nice to people and saying hi to them and being cheerful and tolerant of strangers, or even like the people that really just drive you crazy. It does make you feel better, and it does. It gives you that, I don't know, just like a little, you just, I don't know. It's hard to explain it. I mean, I'm sure hopefully everyone here has been nice to people that they don't know, but it's just, I don't think you really have to deep dive into Jesus to feel good when you are nice to people, but you should deep dive into Jesus. Cameras.
And also too, I mean, it's kind of with staying in the Word and stuff like that. It's I noticed, at least with myself, like when you start to get negative, it's like,
Yes.
it's just like this switch, and you're just like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are you talking about that person? Why are you getting so upset about that? It's like, and I think that has to do with just having that close relationship, and just hearing that inner voice that He puts inside of us for that. And I know we're getting ready to wrap it up, but this next part, I don't even know. We didn't talk about it before, so it might be something where you get upset with me sharing this. But one thing I want to, because I do believe that this will help some people with it. And because before, I remembered we had a conversation where I was like, you need to make an appointment with the doctor because you're going through depression. And you're like, I'm not depressed. And I'm like, baby, you are depressed. Like, you don't want to leave the house. You don't want, like, you're always, you're upset all the time. Like, and I was even like, saying I was reading through the symptoms of depression. It's like you had it and stuff. And that was all before you started reading the Bible and stuff like that. But you did make an appointment, and that I forgot all about it. And that appointment where you were going to go talk to somebody about that, and you wanted me to go with you, I think it was last week.
Yeah, literally the week before. I don't remember.
Yeah, last week or the week before. And you said something to me about it. And I said, well, I think you should cancel it. I was like, I seen a huge difference. And I think, and I really did. And it's like, I don't know, I forgot all about us having that conversation and you making that appointment and all of that. And, and I think that, a lot of people deal with depression. And even though you were kind of like, I don't feel depressed, but there were the signs around it. And I think just being tired all the time, not wanting to leave the house, wanting to be isolated, those are signs of depression. Just a sense of like gloom, negativity. Not saying that you're negative all the time, because you weren't. That one wasn't, but the not wanting to leave the house and being tired all the time, they were. And I don't know what the doctor would have said if we would have made that appointment, but it really was like it spoke volumes to me, because when you brought that up and said, hey, the appointment's tomorrow, you're supposed to go with me, and I was just like, I don't think you need to go. I think just cancel it, and because I've seen this huge difference. Let's see what happens. Let's continue out this month. Let's see where you're at, and so I definitely noticed a difference with that, and I wanted to bring that up, and we didn't discuss it, so I definitely didn't get permission. I tried to get permission from you since before when you walked out on one of my messages. That
was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was a while back. It was like probably 3 years ago. But so I tried to let you know and warn you before something's coming, not surprise you or anything. So I apologize for not doing it here. But that was brought to my attention when you were talking. I think that there may be somebody watching and they're going through depression, and they're like that the doctor has given them all this medication and all this stuff, and I mean there are side effects with all that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take medication for depression. I'm not saying that there's anything against that or the doctors or whatever. But what I am saying is, if you have not done so already, try that. Like what Julie did with just accepting that challenge. I think that would be something just in general, people accepting that challenge like that Julie did. And it was accepting the challenge that without being challenged. You're like, I'll do it for a month. Mm-hmm. But try it. Do it for a month. Spending time in the Word. That you didn't. Did you have any certain set amount of scriptures that you said I was going to read, or did you just? How did you do that?
I just said that I wanted to read the Bible, and I could have read the Bible 5 years ago. I could have read the Bible 3 years ago, and I think, anytime that somebody wants you to do something, or makes you do something, or makes you feel like you have to do something, you don't want to do it. So in that moment, I don't know. I was like, that's not right. I thought that you were wrong, and I don't know. If you're outside of people who are in the Word and have the relationship and spend like 15 minutes in the morning or in the evening, and you're just like, why would you waste time doing that? Just to me, it didn't make sense. Like, why would people spend time doing that? They go to church on Sundays, they're good people, but I guess it's just, you really don't understand it, and you really need to want to have a relationship with Jesus, because if you don't, you're not going to get it. And I wouldn't have gotten it 4 years ago. I wouldn't have gotten it 6 months ago. So, just having that, I guess, need or want inside of me too helped a little bit. But there's nothing that's going to replace, the Bible and the Word that you get when you just sit and read it. There's nothing that's going to ever replace that. And I think that it's just, I'm so glad that we had that conversation, and I wanted to challenge you because I feel a lot better.
It was definitely a God thing. I like to call that, like, with you, with that moment, because if I'd have been like, you don't believe me? Why don't you try reading the Bible for a month and see?
Right.
Like, then, that would have, like, pushed you away.
That would have went over so well.
I like to call that, like, is divine persuasion. Like, it was being persuaded. God's the one that persuaded you. God's the one that, did that. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about it. It was the farthest thing from my mind. But just it happened. That's what we spoke on.
Yeah.
And then me talking to you about it, and then it was like, that's the only way I can really describe it, is just divine persuasion. But maybe you're watching right now, and I don't believe it's an accident that you guys are watching, and you're saying, man, I'm going through a lot of the stuff that Julie went through, or I'm just, maybe it's like, oh, she has nothing on me. I'm like, wait, I'm like, I haven't left the bed for like 2 weeks, like, and it's, but maybe right now that God is, you have that divine persuasion. God is, speaking to you, and you're like, all right, I'll try it for a month. Maybe just try it for a week, whatever it is. But I do believe that you'll see such a huge difference. Just reading the Word, spending time in prayer with that. And then also a part of that is the fellowship, being refreshed by fellowship. And it's just kind of how they go play into each other, because when you start doing that, start praying, start reading the Word, then you kind of get that where it's like, I want to hang out with people. I want to, so it all goes into that, like what I like to call, not necessarily a biblical phrase, but divine persuasion is like what I like to call it, where you're persuaded by God to do it. It's not someone forcing you. So thank you for joining me in the lobby.
Thanks.
I enjoy doing it with you.
I know
well,
you
in
do.
the lobby. That's what I was talking about.
I know you enjoy doing it with me, baby.
So, yeah. And, gosh. But, yeah, so I don't even know. Like, you left me speechless. That doesn't happen very often.
Yes.
But, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching in the lobby. Pastor Mark should be back if we allow it, next week. But no, I enjoyed this. And anything else final that you'd like to say? Anything?
I don't know. Not really. I just read it. Just pick it up give it a chance, because it will change your life.
Yeah.
It'll change.
Yeah, for sure. And as always, I know I've probably said this and just like where people's like, all right, Jimmy, we get it. But I am a huge supporter and advocate for the Passion Translation. I think it just reads so clear, and it reads like how I talk, you know. If it had like more y'alls in it, maybe then it'd be more. But it is, and I've gotten so much revelation from it, and it's cool because as you read it, you ask questions or you come up, and it's stuff that I haven't ever thought of before, and just it's cool how, you know, us being a married couple, like how you will have insight on stuff that I'm going through, and you've taken different scriptures and told me what you're getting from that, and I'm like, I can't believe I never saw that. So that's really cool to see that too. So guys, definitely give it a try, regardless of what translation that you do. We believe that God will speak through you through that, you know, doing it for him and learning about him and just having that intimacy time with him. So if you want to email either one of us, we have our emails. Mine is jimmy.fairlawnchurch@gmail.com. I'm not sure if we have your email to throw up, but if you guys email it to me, I will get it up there. I'll make sure that she gets it. I know it's like Julie at, what is your email? With the
Julie.helpinghandanimals@gmail.com.
Julie.
helpinghandanimals@gmail.com.
That is an extremely long email address.
You chose it.
So, but I don't remember that.
You told me.
Maybe I did. But anyway, so you email either one of us. Guys, leave comments down at the bottom on the comment section. We will personally read them, and we'll get back to you. You can send us private messages through Facebook Messenger, whatever, any way that you want to get a hold of us. We encourage you to do so. If you have questions, we will do our best to answer those. And hopefully we'll see you guys this Sunday. Well, actually, first Saturday night is at the well.
Oh, yeah.
Not in the well. I keep saying in the well.
At the well.
At the well.
Mm-hmm.
So Heather and Diane are going to be
Heather.
doing it. It's a women's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at 7 or 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock this Saturday at the well. And then we'll see you guys on Sunday, 9 o'clock. Is our first service. Our second service is at 11 o'clock, and then we have Sunday school at 10:20 a.m. Miss Ann is our amazing Sunday school teacher, very anointed, so you'll enjoy that as well. So, all right, guys, hope to see you Sunday. We love you guys. Thank you so much for watching.